I see myself as an artist, which took me a while because I didn't think that I had earned that title, but I'm growing more comfortable with it now, because to be inspired by a story or a person or a landscape and to translate that into an image that other people can respond to is an act of artistry.
Working in the solitude of her basement workshop, Gwen Westerman pieces together a star quilt, a craft she learned from the women in her family. The quilt will eventually be gifted to a person recognizing a personal achievement in their life.
Quilts have been a part of our family life for as long as I can remember. And when I moved to Minnesota, I had some of my grandma's quilts, and somebody came to the house and said, "Why is that on the bed? It should be hanging on the wall." And I thought, well, who on earth would hang a quilt on the wall? You're supposed to use it. And it was a little while after that, about 15 years ago, that I started quilting and have done traditional patterns that my grandma used, and then started making star quilts and have adapted that 8-point star to an art quilt format. We think of a star quilt now as something very traditional, and it comes from a traditional place, but we weren't quilters from the beginning. The star, a 4-point or a 5-point star, has been part of our artwork from the time we were making petroglyphs, painting hides, and then in quill work and beadwork. And for us as Dakota people, that morning star signals the beginning of a new day, and that we should always be thankful that we can see another day. And when the missionaries showed up and taught our people how to sew, they also taught them how to quilt. And that pattern, the 8-point star, has been adapted now and has become part of our culture. The star quilt has become a gift of honor for a lot of Native people, and we make them for our family members, for people who have accomplished significant things in their lives.
Quilting is a very labor-intensive art form. A single quilt may take 1 or 2 years, sometimes more, to finish, and it's rare that one may come together in a matter of days. Still, Gwen finds the whole process gratifying.
This is called We Come From the Stars, and in Dakota that is Wichank Bihechia Tahan Uhipi. We come from the stars. And it has very traditional colors: red, yellow, blue, white, black, and then some brass bells and a mirror in the center with beadwork around it. And I like to think that people, when they walk up and see this quilt, they can see themselves in that mirror. I had it on my wall, hanging on my wall for a long time, because I just wasn't quite sure what to do with it. And then I figured it out probably a year later. So that quilt took me about 4 years to finish. This one is called Ina, for my mother, and it's got multiple layers of meaning here. And obviously the first one is the turtle, and the earth is our mother. My grandmother made this traditional pattern. It's called a drunkard's path, which is a terrible name, but it involves some curved edges. And I worked that pattern into these turtle shapes. And my mother's father's family, they all have water animal names. So my grandpa's name was Yaskanahi, which means hard-shell turtle. And my mom collected turtles and So I made this for her when she got sick and had to go on dialysis, because I thought, well, this will be good. She can take it with her to dialysis. But she died before I finished it. But I really like the turtles for my mother.
Gwen, a professor of English and Humanities at Minnesota State University, Mankato, and a published author, has won numerous awards for her quilts, some of which are in permanent collections, such as the Red Cloud Heritage Center in Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and the Minnesota Historical Society.
My grandmother would have never considered herself an artist. She would say, I'm just an old woman making a quilt for somebody I love. And I think that it's taken off the way it has for me because the stories that are important to us as Dakota people, as Native people in general, are often incorporated into the quilts that I make. Oh, I definitely feel a connection to the past, to the people who came before me, to the stories that shape who we are. And I'm often singing traditional songs to myself when I work, in addition to listening to other kinds of music. And often there's an element of prayer there, depending on what I'm making. We all have stories to tell about who we are and where we came from. And even if we weren't listening directly when our grandparents were sitting around talking, or when our parents were visiting with family members or friends, I think those stories sink in when we hear them, almost subconsciously. We have to sit still sometimes and just listen.